You know what that is? Discipline. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Let's fucking do that. Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion to become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
Hey, now welcome back to the Coaches Show, your source of high-level insight into the game we all love, paintball. I'm Coach Mike Bianco of San Diego Dynasty, and with me is my friend and co-host, Coach Ryan Gray of Red Legion. This is episode 79, and tonight's show is a special one. We're digging into the mental side of the game, and we're going to do that with Chelsea Brooks of Pro4mance Edge. Now, the reason why I drug that out is because of the spelling. All right, a leading sports and performance mental coach who's currently working with Seattle Uprising in the NXL. You've heard us discuss the mental side from our perspective. Now you're going to get to hear it from the perspective of an actual sports psychologist. We're very excited about this show. I can't wait. This should be an incredibly enlightening, and you just don't want to miss it. All right, so stay tuned. But before we get to Chelsea, Ryan and I will hit on a few hot topics around the Pro League, including some recent roster moves and changes, as well as the buzz around the upcoming ESPN Paintball special that's putting the sport back in the spotlight. All right, tonight's show is brought to you by Max Sportswear, the leader in custom paintball gear. If your team isn't wearing Maxed, you're already behind. Give them a call. And BKI Paintball, bringing you the best knowledge in paintball on and off the field. Sign up with them today. All right. Hey, don't forget the Coaches Clinic. Ryan and I will be performing another Coaches Clinic at the next Dallas or the Lone Star Open event in Garland, Texas, coming up in September. Ryan says you'll have the sign up available Wednesday. So now you have a date, Ryan. So now you're stuck. So you have to make that happen.
Deadline.
Right? Deadline. You got a deadline, man. We love deadlines. All right. Hey, I'm stoked about tonight's show. You want to jump into talking about some of these, some of the moves and rumors and things that are going on?
Yeah, let's do that. First, I also want to say, just from our green room conversations with Chelsea,
I know
this is going to be great.
It's going to be a good time.
You guys hear Mike and I almost preaching about culture, and especially Mike talks a lot about goal setting and why that's so important, and purpose and people and processes and all the things we kind of throw at you guys. Hopefully you got your pen and pad out, especially as we get into these conversations. We get into these conversations with Chelsea so that you can start to implement some of these things with your group, right? Yes. One of the biggest things, probably the most important thing about being a good coach, is understanding your people. And a big part of that is what we're going to talk about tonight. Yeah. How do I better understand my group? So it's going to be a good one.
And it's not just for coaches. You players, listen to this, because you can understand how to, because we can reverse engineer this, right? You're just as much of an important part of the equation. So learning how to work with your colleagues as well as your coaches. So everybody tune in on this.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about, let's start with ESPN, right? We're going to beat this to death, right, until we get there. So just so everybody knows, here is the time. You guys probably seen this all over social media. So ESPN2 live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 9 a.m. If you're here in the central part of the United States. And then if you are out in California, it's going to be pretty early, 7 a.m. for you, but it'd be great. Grab your coffee, go watch a little paintball. For those of you who are going to be close, come watch. Please, if you can come watch, that would be awesome. We would love to fill the back part of the stands. I mean, we're right against the backstop. So Major League Paintball has kind of the premier spot at Champion Stadium. So it's going to be it's really important that we kind of show out. So if you are close and you have an opportunity to come to this, please come. The first 100 people, I believe, are going to get Major League Paintball swag, T-shirts and things, kind of show out. After the event, I still can't find it, but I think you found it right at Uno's. I think we're going to do kind of a meet and greet thing there. So please, 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 if you have an opportunity and can come, make it a priority for your Friday to come watch some paintball. It's free.
It's free. And not only that, but as Ryan has a tendency to say, and I couldn't agree with him more, be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Be responsible if you're going to come watch it live. All right. So, well, we want to put our best foot forward there, right? We want to make sure that ESPN and all the people who tune in and maybe possibly discover paintball for the first time and see how exciting it can be, want to come back. So be responsible, but let's fill those stands. And yes, there is going to be a meet and greet immediately following the event where all the teams are going to get together with all the fans, and we're all going to hang out. We're all going to have a great time. It's going to be about community, and that's what growing the sport is. Right?
Leave your cannabis in the car, please. Please. I shouldn't have to say that, but I feel like it.
Yeah, the wacky weed, the turbo weed, the devil's lettuce, Mary Jane.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned last week on Thursday about a big gun that was potentially leaving a team.
Mm-hmm. I did, and
then we saw an announcement.
That's right. It was actually a dual one, because another one.
Yeah.
One's a rumor, one's now confirmed. So it was kind of me being clever, because there was two happening, and I only mentioned, I said one, so I was trying to be clever there to make people guess, which I took a lot of heat for, by the way. So
good.
Thanks for telling them to do that.
Yeah, you're gonna spit rumors, on a show that doesn't do rumors.
That's right. We don't do that. So
yeah,
it's no longer a rumor for one of them.
That's right. Kyle Spica has officially left AC Diesel due to just, I guess, some communication issues with ownership. So, we kind of talked about this, that they had some kind of cultural things that were happening over there. And, Kyle was hanging around the pits kind of throughout the rest of the tournament. And on Sunday, I mean, he looked pretty beat up, he looked pretty concerned. So, I hope Kyle lands in a good spot. I think Kyle's a really intelligent kid. He's still a really good paint. It kind of sucks because every time he was really good with AC Diesel, the team didn't do well.
Right.
I mean, it just looked like every time Kyle was playing really well, unfortunately, the team didn't perform at their highest. So, because I thought he played well at the last event.
I think Kyle's still a top level player. His brain, right? He brings a lot, upstairs to the game. He's also one of the most genuine, nice guys you're going to meet. I don't think that guy has a mean bone in his body, except when he's on the field, of course. So I'm confident Kyle's going to land somewhere, where he'll be, an integral part of any type of team's process.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is a rumor, which we won't kind of dig into, of another potential loss there with AC Diesel. Mm-hmm. Once we can confirm that, we'll kind of talk about it on the show. But until then, we'll sort of leave it alone. But yeah, understand there may be another change there. Mr. G, I don't understand your question. Are you talking about the ESPN? Mr. G asks, are the rosters capped? Are you talking about the ESPN show?
My guess is he's talking about, it's almost right. We're coming into the fourth event of the season, and usually the rosters are capped for each team.
Locked.
He is.
That would be locked. Yeah, that's why I was.
Locked.
Sorry. Thank you for responding, Mr. G. Yeah, what I was, because locked does happen before the next event, I believe, but capped. No, there's no roster cap for the 3-on-3, and teams can invite players even from other teams if they want to come and play with them at the event. We're not doing that. I don't know if any of the other teams are, but it was obviously this event was kind of thrown at everyone, and it is a little bit of a challenge, right? Especially for like a team like us, where many of our players travel from different parts of the world. So, but we are bringing our guys in. So yeah.
Same.
But it's not.
We're not bringing anyone else. So
yeah. So, but it's not capped. So, good question. Thank you.
Yep. Excellent. All right. So I think the ESPN thing, and we'll continue to talk about that. It's only 2 weeks away. So
yeah. So I leave Thursday to head to Tampa to kind of start the training process for the 3-on-3, and then kind of some new things that we're testing with the Russians. So yeah,
excellent.
It's close, man.
Yeah,
but it's not 2 weeks.
No, that's right. That's right.
It's not 2 weeks. It's Friday. So it's Friday after next. So we're
so
inside of like 10 days.
Yeah. So we're inside. Okay.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
Good point. Valid.
We're
All
getting
right.
there.
Yeah, we're getting there. All right.
Yeah.
So we've talked about ESPN. We've talked about a little bit of the little bit of move there's with Kyle Spica and possible others, one or two others that are on radar that we will not talk about until confirmed. And then we'll go from there. I think I'm kind of chomping at the bit to kind of get into this next section of the show.
Yeah, me too. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh,
welcome.
Hi.
Welcome, Chelsea Brooks, everyone.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. Definitely from our green room conversations. I'm excited to get into it.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, founder of Pro4mance Edge and mental performance coach, Chelsea Brooks is now joining the show. Wow. There's so much we want to talk about. And as you saw, we were so like all over the place in the green room. Right. But I think we should keep it simple. Let's do foundational. Something we do here at the Coaches Show a lot is very foundational based, and then we build upon it. So let's just talk a little bit about you. Like let the listeners and the viewers know a little bit about you and your background.
Awesome. So I am Chelsea Brooks. My company is Pro4mance Edge. I'm the lead mental performance coach there. I have a master's in sports psychology. And then I have an undergraduate in strength and conditioning and human performance. So I get to kind of bring a little bit of both worlds to what I do. And then my background is I was an elite athlete for 10 years. I was a springboard and platform diver training for the Olympics. And I unfortunately ended up with a career-ending injury that almost left me paralyzed, 2 back surgeries later. And it was because of burnout. I had hit this point where I had hit burnout at a very young age and didn't have somebody like me to help me through it. And so that's what really pushed me to go into this field was I needed somebody like me at that age. And even beyond that to help me move through what I had gone through, not only while I was competing, but even after injury and my identity loss and things like that. So I have a huge passion for what I do. And like I said, I get to bring in both worlds with the strength and conditioning and biomechanics and gait analysis and the sports psychology side of it. So it's a lot of fun.
Wow.
Great story.
That is a fantastic story. Getting ready for the Olympics, and then game-changing injury, and then and then recognizing and taking that opportunity, that just that mental aspect alone is saying, hey, here's something that I'm now passionate about because this is something I wish I had. I'm going to go and make that happen for somebody else. Wow.
Most definitely. And it's definitely what drives me to continue to pursue it is being able to give people, not only youth athletes, but of all age groups and skill levels, the tools to really excel and succeed and move out of their own way so that they don't end up with injuries or they don't end up burnt out and hating what they're doing. Whereas, hey, let's give them the tools to not only thrive in their sports domain, but to also thrive in life too. Because any of the topics that I get to talk about with my athletes can be applied to any other aspect of life, whether it's relationships, whether it's our youth athletes in school, whether it's business, it's anything like that. So it's really cool to see these techniques get taken and tools get taken into other parts of life. And I've got my athletes that come back to me and say, hey, Chelsea, this not only worked here, but I'm seeing this in other areas too. It's really, I love the light bulb situation, right? Where that gets to go off and they're like, yes, I get it. I see it.
I often tell players, I'll show you if you show me a successful team, I'll show you a bunch of individuals who are successful outside the net too. And it's usually, it translates usually very well. So it
does very much so.
And I always love the parallels with sports and life, right? Like the struggles, challenges, how you get through those. Adam Gomez in the chat says great perseverance, how we persevere through challenges and, get beyond barriers, even self-made ones, which are my favorite. Right. We create those self-made barriers and like, I can't do something. It's always, you have a great story.
It is.
Thank you.
And it's perfect for what you do. Cause it says a lot about the passion, right? Like when we talk about finding your passion, I mean, you found yours because you were in the situation where you needed the hole that you're now filling. So great story.
I love it because I get to not only bring my personal experience, I've lived it, but I get to bring the book smarts too, the knowledge with it.
And it was probably your journey from a young age up until that point in sports that gave you that fortitude, right? I often talk about that. A lot of people talk about, hey, I'm going to be a professional baseball player, professional football player, or even a professional paintball player. And very low percentages of people ever accomplish that goal. However, it's the lessons learned, right, through sports that I think make us, better people outside of that. So the lessons learned, it's just great.
Very much so.
I love that you talked about identity crisis too. My daughter has played volleyball since she was 11 years old. She's at Tufts University in Boston. She was playing there, and she kind of made the tough decision this summer to step away from the team to be able to graduate in 3 years.
That's tough.
And she was really struggling with, like, I came here to play volleyball. The volleyball team is kind of my tribe. Who am I going to be sort of without that? And she did for a short time kind of go through this weird identity crisis, when the reality is all of that was self-created and self-generated, because the team was like, I mean, you're not playing on the team, but we still love you, still want to hang with you. Like, we
still want to do things with you.
Yes, you're still our friend, right? Like, it's okay that you're not on the team. We still want to do these things. So I think young athletes, for sure, they just don't have the tools to kind of figure out what to do with that part.
And that's where I get to come in and help athletes with that, right? That's a big part of what I do, is teach athletes that their sport is what they do. It's not who they are. And all the things that they get to learn within that sport get to be translated into real life. So I get to sit down with them and say, hey, what's everything that you've gained from playing? What does it look like, right? How can that be applied in other areas? And that also takes the pressure off of playing currently, even if they're not looking at retiring. It's, hey, what does life look like after you're done playing? Let's take the fear out of that. Once we take the fear out of that, that takes this huge monkey off these athletes' back, and they get to actually just go play, because they realize it's what they do. It's not who they are, and that there is life afterward, that it isn't their identity. And I think for young athletes, that's such a huge thing to get through to them when they first start playing, or when they're starting to get into the competitive stages, is that way they're not carrying around this load of, oh my gosh, I need to be this athlete to make something of myself. It's, no, I am already something. Being the athlete just gets to make me better. And it takes a whole bunch of pressure off of competing and playing and performing.
I wrote that down.
Good, I'm glad.
Hey, Mike, I can send you an audio copy when we're done. It'll be on Spotify. You can just go grab it.
Well, I understand that, but I love that teach athletes that their sport is what you do. It's not who you
it's not
are.
who you are.
And that is so important. I mean, that's impactful. And there's so much you could unpack from that just that one statement alone. And I've had that conversation in so many different ways, just without saying that, with so many different players. It's fantastic. I think that's a great segue into the next question. I've got to know, how in the world did you end up doing something in paintball? Now, I'm sure you started in other sports, obviously, right? But what brought you to paintball?
So you're right. I do work with, pretty much over my career, I've worked with almost every sport you can think of, all age groups, all skill levels, right? But I was fortunate enough for several years to actually work for the league, courtesy of Kara Cole and Tom Cole. So I got my start there. I started working with them, and it was for fun for a little while. It was my chance to get away, right? It was my chance to get away and just kind of hang out and be in an environment that I fell in love with. And I truly fell in love with the paintball community. And as people started to learn, as the guys started to learn what I did for a living outside of just getting to kind of hang out with the league and do fun things, they started to learn that this is what I do. And so I had guys coming up and asking me and talking to me and, hey, can I bend your ear for a little bit? Can we talk this through? And so I finally made the leap last year to pursue it a little more seriously, and it not just be the guys getting to come up and talk to me on a whim. And I wanted to provide that opportunity for them once I saw that the guys wanted to, and the girls too. I can't just say the guys anymore. I got the girls too. So once the players started to show me that they really wanted to take an interest in what mental performance coaching could do for them, it was time. It was time to make the jump and do it full time. And I've worked with a couple different people over the last few months, and it's been absolutely amazing. It's been cool to watch everybody take to it and have a true interest in what it's about and how they can really become better players and better teammates and better leaders. It's it's been awesome to watch.
Ryan, want to hop in there?
Yeah, I was going to ask. So,
Mhm.
who are some of the other groups that you have or are currently working with?
So there's been a couple of divisional players that I've worked with, but one of the main people that I work with right now is on Northern Lights, which is the sister team to Seattle Uprising. Tessa is absolutely amazing. I love working with her. She has shown so much progress over just the short period of time that I've been working with her. And what's really cool is she takes all the stuff that I teach her and she takes it back to the Northern Lights. So when I pop into their pits during events, I get to see them apply some of the stuff that I've taught her, and they've taken it and ran with it, just like the guys from Uprising have. So it's been really cool to see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's fantastic. So is that how the relationship, you started with Tessa on Northern Lights? Is that how the relationship took you into working with Seattle Uprising?
No, actually, I've had a couple other people introduce me to Jimmy at World Cup last year, and he and I got to talking. Again, I've had several people within the league that have known what I do for a living for a while, and they took it upon themselves to start making connections for me, which I am beyond grateful for. So I actually got to sit down and have an amazing chat with Jimmy at World Cup last year, and got to watch them play through Sunday Ball last year, and we just kind of grew from there. And Jimmy was all in on board, loved what I had to offer him and what the team could grow, how the team could grow, and we just ran with it from there.
Awesome.
Jimmy is a special guy.
Yes.
He's amazing. He's
Yeah,
the way his brain works, just everything he's trying to do for the sport. It's so cool to watch him work.
I've had like few interactions with him, but every one of them has been significant. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like
he's that guy. He's that guy.
Yeah. Like every time I get to have a conversation with him, like I kind of feel like I went away knowing him better.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not just surface,
Yeah.
right?
No,
So
he likes to get to know people for sure. He does.
yeah, I feel like I get to know him a little bit, and I'm a big fan. I share all of his stuff all the time. I'm not sharing the tiny houses because I don't want somebody down here trying to buy a house from up there.
Trying to buy, yeah.
Yeah, but like all the stuff he does with Finlay and those, I share all of his things because I think he's special and I think he's a great owner and I want to keep him around.
Yes.
So let's kind of dive into your relationship with Uprising, and of course any of the stuff that you don't necessarily want to share, you can gloss over however you'd like. But when you first started working with Seattle Uprising, kind of where did you begin that process? What was the analysis like? And then what were the first few things you saw that were like, okay, these are big, we need to fix these right away?
Yeah. So the initial process was getting to sit down with the coaching staff first and understanding what they felt as though were breakdowns, what they were looking for from working with me. What did they see that was happening? Kind of breaking down what's happened over the past season, any type of team dynamics that have changed, ownership changes, anything like that could really impact how the team functions, right? So we start there. I get an idea of what that looks like, just so I can gauge my assessment that I send to the team a little bit better. So what happens is once we do that and we sit and have that conversation, what I do is I send out a team assessment to the players. And it can be anonymous. They don't have to put their name on it if they don't want to. That only helps me understand them better if they do. But I get all of this feedback back with specific questions that get asked about how they feel about coaching, what they feel like the breakdowns are that are happening, their expectations for how they play, things like that. Not only team dynamics, but individual dynamics. And that information all comes back to me, and I get to make a game plan from there. I take that information back to the coaches, and then we go from there and build out a specific game plan for that team. Now, most teams follow the same pattern, right? As you guys have seen before. You guys have been coaching for a really long time. Most teams follow the same pattern. And I think one of the biggest breakdowns that I see when it comes to teams is communication and trust. Trusting your guys. Communication
I harp on that a lot.
and trust. Yeah. And accountability too. I think it's that comes into play a lot, is that individual accountability, not only from the players, but from the coaches too, right? That all blends in together.
Yes.
Preach, girl. Preach.
Yes, keep going.
Preach, girl.
But I would say that communication, and then on an individual level, the major player breakdowns is expectations. is managing expectations, the shoulds, the shouldn'ts, the have tos, the musts, the can'ts. Those are all things that we carry around that actually feel like carrying around a 50-pound monkey on our back while you're trying to run down the field. Doesn't end well, right?
Right.
So learning to manage those and what to replace those with, right? Where we're not focusing so much on the outcome itself, because that's what expectations are, is an outcome focus. We switch it back to not an I need to or I have to. We switch it back to how. How can I do this? We bring it back to the process, and that takes some of that weight off. And that allows you to let go of those mistakes faster, move through plays, be adaptable, pivot, where everything's not so rigid. You're a little more flexible.
Sounds a lot like outcome-based training versus performance-based training. Something we talk a lot about on the coaches show.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, the how and the why.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a place for both of those mentalities, right?
Sure.
For
Absolutely.
in my world, it's the practice mindset versus the performance mindset. That practice mindset, great. Let's go break it down. Let's strive for quote unquote perfection. Let's do all those things. Where can we improve? Hey, let's get super technical. But come event time, we need to be in that performance mindset, that just do it, relying on what you guys have practiced. And I know it's different, right? We have a short window that we get to practice the layouts, but most of your guys have that Rolodex of information already. They've seen something similar. So it's being able to relay to your guys, hey, this really isn't that different. How do we simplify this and make it happen?
I love that.
I do too. Yes, it's something, and it's something that Ryan and I have all done clinics, and a lot of the people who watch the show have done clinics or been to clinics. And when you're first getting that group, when that first paintballer is starting to come in, that D5, D4, D3 player, I feel a lot of times a lot of coaches or people who are teaching have the outcome versus performance-based training opposite and swapped. Like immediately it's just outcome. Okay, yes. I want you to shoot this thing 10 times in a row, and when you hit it 10 times in a row, then we move on to the next thing. I think those things need to be swapped. We need to understand the performance outcome. Hey, let's work with what we got, and we understand the why we're doing this. Yeah, then eventually we set goals to where we have an outcome that we expect.
Correct. So. And that's understanding your guys too, right? Where each of your guys are at, where each of your players are at. It's understanding what they're capable of doing. And we're back to that thing too, where there's no stupid question. Make sure your guys have the knowledge, right? The game knowledge. I've noticed a lot of that too, where a lot of the times we're not giving the guys the right information to help them be successful. They don't necessarily have the play knowledge that they need to thrive, which is coming back to that performance mindset. Let's run through the what ifs.
Yeah.
Let's run through the if thens. Let's break down calls. Let's do it together. Let's sit down and visualize. What does that look like? And I think from a coach's perspective, being on board with there's no stupid question. And I know sometimes we get frustrated, right? We're human. You get asked the same question over and over again. There's no stupid question. Acknowledge it, walk through it, and then go from there kind of situation.
Yeah, you hear me say
bring
that
it back to the process.
Right. You hear me say that the coach's clinic, the dumbest question is the one not asked. Right. By the way, Ninos in the chat, I got to start to the path to choose the path. Well played. Well said, sir. I think it's really important what you're starting here is it's what you essentially just drove the nail home is that, hey, it's once you involve the player in the process, now they're vested. If I sit there and just come in and tell you what to do and how to do it, we're not necessarily building trust yet. Correct. But we build trust by involving each other and trusting each other to understand that, hey, we're on this together. We're doing this together. And I think that's a key component on anybody's journey, especially in the coaching realm.
Most definitely. And that's true. And again, when you come in demanding something, that kind of goes back to the expectations too, when you're doing it to yourself. The analogy that I like to use, guys, is when it's like having a toddler that's having a temper tantrum. Are you going to be able to get through to that toddler by demanding something of it, by yelling at it, by telling it what to do? Your brain is the same way, right? So as a coach, if you're coming in and screaming at your player, demanding something of it, their brain's immediately going to that expectation and they're going to rebel. It's going to go in one ear and out the other. So again, if you bring it back to the process, have them critically think about it. Hey man, what happened here? How can we move through it? It's not about pointing fingers and what went wrong, which is what I see a lot happen in the pits too when we come off from points, is the finger pointing. It's no. Let's take a step back. Let's get relevant information out. But it's the how. Hey man, I saw this happen. How can I help you move through it? What's something quick that we can do right now to help you move through it without, again, stretching that mental bandwidth out and making it more complicated than it needs to be. That acronym, keep it simple, stupid. That's all I ask for. When we are come game time, come match time, that's all I care about. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And the communication thing, whether it's player to player, coach to player, when it's dictation versus collaboration,
correct,
you're always, it's my experience because I have been both. And I get very little success in dictation and much more success in collaboration, where it's like, why don't you tell me the things that you think are your deficiencies, and let's talk about how we're going to work through those together, right? Versus me saying, oh, dude, you suck at this, and this, and here's how we're going to fix it, right? Because then it's like they're not bought into the plan. They weren't a part of the plan. And maybe they don't understand that they're deficient in those things because I'm not provided the right amount of data, right? I didn't bring the receipts to the table to have the conversation, right? And I see, especially with young coaches, and Mike probably doesn't make this mistake because he's much nicer than me. I made it a bunch when I was a young coach, a bunch, right? One, because I was an egomaniac with an inferiority complex and wanted to prove that I belonged to be where I was. And, even after I'd won my first professional event, I still demanded and dictated, and you will do this. And I just didn't get a lot of good feedback from it. Right. Like when it became more collaborative and became a synergistic process, that's when, and I could just show them the data. Hey, here's the data. And then most players go, oh yeah, I kind of suck at that.
I can see
it's
that.
Like we need to work on that. Right. Hey coach, how do we do that together? So yeah, that's a huge point. Dictation versus collaboration.
Being that dictator, again, that comes back to that other analogy, whether it's a toddler or that rebellious teenager. The minute you demand something of them, you dictate to them, they shut down. That's exactly what's going to happen with your players, right? As a coach. And then as an individual player, if you're doing that, if that's what your inner monologue is, your brain's going to go, all right, I'm out. I'm done. We're not listening anymore. And it's going to continue to do the thing that you don't want it to do because you've demanded it of it.
Yeah, spot on. And Ryan, you touched on something I want to go back to real quick. You talked about a technique that actually breaks ego down. And a lot of people don't recognize that. I don't think we kind of skipped over it. A lot of times when you go, hey man, what do you think you need to work on? Right now, if a player goes, well, I'm awesome, I'm the best. Every player is going to say, well, I could be better at this. All right, well, how do you think we should address that? Let's put together something together. One of my favorite techniques, and the reason why I think that's a great way to break down the ego. And Chelsea, correct me if you think there's a better way to do it, but by getting him to be a little bit more, open,
vulnerable,
by having him guide it, right? So that we're building that, hey, I'm not a threat. Right. So now he guides, I think I need to work on this. Well, hey, let's do this. And what happens when you create that process, it, like you said, Ryan, it can expose other deficiencies, which you can then start the conversation on because he showed you that, right, that there was a deficiency there. And so now you can address it. So that's one way of doing it. One of my favorite things to do is when a player at practice, what have you, and something may go south, Chelsea, I always ask the question, hey, walk me through your thought process there.
Yes.
What was going on there?
It puts the ball back in their court, right? It makes them accountable for what happened, and it causes them to critically think. And I get this a lot too, where I've got a lot of players that can't tell me what happened. So then that tells me, hey, we need to work on being a little more mindful. I need you to be a little bit more aware. I know we want to be in flow, right? But what's happening out there, if you can't tell me what was going on, then you really weren't in flow. You were caught up in something else. You weren't in the moment. You weren't in that point, right? You weren't in that match. And what that tells me is, hey, we need to settle back in and we need to see where you're paying a little bit more attention to what you're doing.
It also gives me a starting point as a coach, right? It gives me a starting point because I'm, again, we coach such diverse personalities and capabilities and talents. And so one of the ways by doing that, by asking that, it's not a trick question. I'm legitimately asking that question because I want to know where you're at mentally so I can meet you there and pull you to where you need to be.
Correct.
So if that makes
sense. Exactly. And it does. It shows you exactly where they're at and how you can help support them to get them to the goal that you're trying to get to. That is your job as leaders, as coaches, guys, is, hey, how, and it's, I don't want to call it hand holding, but it's guiding, right? It's how do I help my players to become the best that they can possibly be, right? And you normally catch more flies with honey. Does that mean that you can't be stern? Not at all. There are times where every once in a while there needs to be a swift kick in the butt, right? But you normally catch more flies with honey. And that's where that open door communication as a coach is such a priority for teams. If you don't have that open door communication where there's not going to be judgment, where there's not going to be harsh criticism, where you can come in and the player knows, hey, I can bring this to you, that's only going to help to build your team cohesion, your team dynamic, but it's going to help boost that player's confidence. It's going to build that trust, not only with you, but within themselves to say, hey, I do have somebody that can support me and help me along the way. I don't have to do this alone, which then only helps them to continue their journey to become a better player.
I'm so glad you touched on that point because, hey, there is somebody who can help me. A lot of paintballers, right? We've got this masculinity thing going for us, and and what I mean by that is, it's like, well, I don't need it. I'm a tough guy, right? I'm all this stuff. True champions, true tough guys want to get better. They want to do better. They want to improve. They want to grow. So they're open to it. The true champions are the guys who are like, yeah, I'll take some help. Throw it my way.
Yeah.
Man. Anything that can make me that much better. The guy who sits there and says, I don't need anybody's help. I've got it on my own. Where that may be admirable to some. It's not the heart of a champion. The champion wants every advantage he can to get better, improve himself, because it starts there with the player. Your improvement, your growth starts with you. It doesn't start with the coach. It doesn't start with your teammates.
No.
It starts with you. So I'm sorry, I started getting up.
And it's having the support, right? All of your top athletes have a team. They don't do it on their own. They have a strength and conditioning coach. They have a mental performance coach. They have great coaching staff. They've got a nutritionist. All of your top athletes. And again, I'm not saying you guys need to go out and do this, but it's understanding where to get that help when you need it. Like nutrition. That's a big thing I talk about with my guys. Hey,
Sleep.
You guys are literally out running it.
Yeah.
I need you. I know you don't want to eat, but I need you to snack, at least in between matches. You got to keep energy levels up, right? Hydration. Hey, are you drinking? Are you smoking? Like, what's happening? How's that impacting how you're playing? How's that impacting your field awareness? Are you listening? Are you hearing things when you're like that? When you don't eat properly, when you don't drink properly, when you're not taking care of your body, you can't show up and play your best, especially in a sport like this, when you have to be at the top of your game, not only mentally, but physically. Absolutely. And if you don't have any of those things, your body's going to shut down. Your brain's going to shut down if you're not doing those things properly.
That would be a great segue into, what are some of the most common mental barriers you see in the competitive players in paintball today?
I think some of the biggest barriers that I've seen, like we talked a little bit about earlier, was managing expectations, right? Not only for themselves, but for other players on the team, right? You understanding, especially as team captains, hey, I know some guys aren't going to show up the same way that I am. Having grace for those other guys that may not show up the same way as you, okay? But also managing your expectations for yourself and understanding where those are limiting you as a player. How is that preventing you from getting better? Again, expectations are different from goals. I'm all for goal setting. Those are manageable. Those are movable. Those are adjustable. Expectations are not. They're rigid. So understanding those will also allow you to let go of mistakes faster. I see a lot of that. You see a lot of blow up and frustration over mistakes, right? Not being able to let those things go. That's all expectation based. That's all outcome based. Yeah. And again, coming back to that breakdown in communication, that's a big one too, is the guys just really not trusting themselves enough and then trusting their guys enough to have effective communication, not wanting to cause conflict, not wanting to stir the pot. But then we get these big blow up moments because we're not having those conversations when they need to happen to prevent those big blow up moments, right? But as far as individual players, it's managing expectations. It's learning to focus on the process and how to do that, how to refocus when we're distracted, right? How do we bounce back into the game when we're distracted? Confidence building, and then trust. How do we rely on all this practice that we've put in, all this time that we've played? So many of the pro guys have played for 20 plus years, right? They've got this Rolodex of information. How do we rely on that? And then how do we help the other guys rely on that information too?
Yeah. Reassessing, reevaluating goals, right? I think you and I talked about that a little bit before. We talked about, for me, goal setting is very important. I harp on it all the time, ad nauseum. But I think here's the goal. We need to set the goal, and we come together, we build that trust, hey, where do we need to be? So this is the goal that we're setting. And then we turn around and say, okay, let's be realistic. Where are we in relation to the goal? Right. Now, this can be individually, this can be as a team. So here's the goal. Where are we in relation to the goal? Now let's put together a game plan to progress to the goal. And, and it's got to be realistic, right? It can't be something. And I think to your point, and we keep using terms like managing expectations, what a great way to do that. Hey, here's where we want to be. Here's where we're at. Here's how we're going to get there. We're going to do this together.
Yeah. And it's, again, everything is coming back to the process itself. It's not, and I need to get there. It's how do I get there? We're so quick. Another analogy I use is we're so quick to eat the cake. We want to get to eating the cake. But majority of the time, most of our players don't even have the ingredients to start mixing, to even create the batter, to cook the cake. Yeah. So it's coming back to that. It's, hey, we know we want to make the cake, right? That's your end game. That's your final goal. Then it's that 6-month goal, that 3-month goal. Hey, what are those things that we need to do daily? What are those things that we need to do at practice to help us get there? And with paintball, like we talked about earlier in the green room, it's a little hard to do that because not all the guys can always get together, right? Not all the players can get together and practice all the time. So it's, hey, let's get on Discord. Let's have a Zoom meeting like this. Let's pull up past layouts and run through, like I said, those if-then scenarios. Go ahead and let's work on our comms. What do those sound like? How do we simplify those? Hey, is everybody on the same page? It's taking those opportunities to be together like that. That'll help in that process to goal setting, not only individually, but as a team. And then again, you're feeding into that team cohesion, that team mission. Hey, what's our goal as a whole? What's our vibe? What do we want to put out? Who do we want to show up as?
Yeah. And see, what you just described was so linear. It's linear. It's a straight line. There's no zigzags. If you start zigzagging, guess what? We're off process, we're off track, and we're not moving in the we're losing time, right? We're not being efficient. So I love it. I want
to back you up a little bit. You talked about managing expectation, and you started talking about coach, and then you kind of went to players. So when you talk about those mental barriers, and then like this was the first one you mentioned, so I apologize if I'm backing you too far up.
Okay.
You talked about managing expectation. Are you talking about top down? Like one of the biggest problems you see as a barrier is managing expectations top down?
So as a whole, yes. And when I say managing expectations, what I mean by that are those rigid demands that you put on your performance. You keep hearing me say the shoulds, the shouldn'ts, the have tos, the musts, the can'ts. Those are all things. They expect me to do this. My team expects me to carry everything, right? That kind of situation. Those are the things, that internal narrative that you're having. Those are those rigid thoughts that are actually keeping most athletes stuck where they're at, not able to progress, not able to let go of control to gain control. They're over controlling. And so that managing expectations, that is literally the first thing I work on with any of my individual athletes, because that sets the framework for how we're going to move through everything else, is breaking down those rigid, ineffective thought patterns that they currently hold and changing those into something that's more process focused, again, instead of outcome focused. You keep hearing me say it, the how. Right? The how.
Be water.
Did that answer your question, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, rigid, right? And the wind will snap, but if we're bamboo, we'll flow.
Yeah. And it's hard because as a society, we were taught to have expectations, right? You've been taught all through school, hey, you need to set these expectations for yourself. You should be doing this. You need to have this on this timeline. We are a red check mark society. So it's hard to break that pattern And when you finally understand that that's actually what's keeping you stuck, what's keeping you in fear, and what's causing you to literally over control everything in your life and not able to, again, to just find flow, to move through, is those thought patterns.
Right. Control what you can control and then move on. Right.
Yeah.
So I love
Yeah.
it. Very stoic of you, Chelsea.
Yeah. And I love the performance versus process. I love that. And I've read that in several books. I love it. Like when a player, any organization that I've ever been a part of, whether it's paintball, business, whatever, including, my own, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, but like one of the biggest reasons I find that a project fails is because we're only focused on the output or input.
End result.
Yes. We don't, we kind of lose focus especially in the parts of the process that we enjoyed the most, right? Like,
and that's what actually creates the outcome.
Totally. And they kind of
is
go
when you
away
fall into what you love.
We're so focused on the end result that we lose those parts of the process that we love or we enjoy. I love that. I'm going to use it a lot.
And that's where the win is. That's where the win comes from, is falling in love with the process. Again, we're so used to trying to jump to the end, to the cake itself, when the best part is getting to put in all the ingredients and make it what you want it to be. And you get to show up as who you want to be, that player, that person that you want to be, not what somebody else says you need to be, right? And it's taking that opportunity to go, hey, what do I get to put into this? And then those end results come after that. It's, again, letting go of control to gain control. When we try to over control, when we oversteer, what ends up happening? We're based in fear, right? We're only looking at what could go wrong. And I see this a lot too in the communication in the pits, is everything that went wrong. Okay, what could go right? What if we focused on success? What if we brought it back to that? What are the things that we're looking for to go right? If we're always looking at what could go wrong or what if the other team's going to do, and oh my gosh, this could fail, you're immediately putting that mental bandwidth into making that happen. So many times we walk away from, hey, how can this be successful? And that's where the visualization comes in. Visualize success. See those if-thens happening and successfully moving through them as a team. What do those comms sound like? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Picture that all in your mind, right? Visualize success, and your brain will more likely lead towards that than the failure side of it. The cool thing about your brain, guys, is it doesn't know the difference between visualizing something and actually physically doing it. So that's one of the best ways to get reps in if you're uncertain about something, or even if you're really good at something. The more that you visualize, the more that you use that tool, the more likely you're going to be able to execute it come game time.
Yeah.
Use the visualization, guys. That's a massive mental performance tool that is underutilized because everybody's like, I don't need to. No, see yourself successful, see those plays going well, and then everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. Self-talk is huge. A lot of people
Massive.
don't recognize the power of self-talk because you can manifest that. You truly can. And it's funny. I had this conversation just this weekend with the team. And I've been made fun of for saying the term, but it's a Southern term, but they kept chasing the rabbit. Every time they'd lose a point, they would try and fix that one thing that collapsed, that one thing that went wrong. And then they'd fix it and then something else would happen. They'd lose. So they'd try to fix that. Now they're trying to fix individual things. I said, quit worrying about what your opponent is doing and start focusing on what you need to execute, what you can do as a team, right? Start looking at your game plans, not theirs.
Not what theirs are. Capitalize on what you do well.
Thank you.
Capitalize on what you do well. That is one of the biggest takeaways is stop, exactly what you're saying, Mike. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Work on your breakouts. Hey, what does that look like? Get that down.
Right.
Don't keep pivoting. Don't keep adjusting. Because again, it's like a golfer who tinkers all the time. Your brain actually doesn't know what it's doing if you keep trying to put in new input. It doesn't know where homeostasis is. If you don't know what's actually working and you keep trying to change things, it's like opening up too many browsers in your web browser. It's going to shut down. It's going to fry. It's going to glitch. That's exactly what you're doing to your brain by constantly trying to pivot. Stick to your game plan. It will work. Now, if there's something blatant, a blatant breakdown, okay, cool. Let's break it down real fast. Let's pivot. Let's make the adjustment. but don't keep trying to play to what the other team is doing. Stick to your game plan and what works for you guys, and the success will come.
Right. I mean, if you're just going to go out there and play a point and you're just trying to win the point, that's not practice. And I keep asking teams, what's your goal for this first portion of the practice? What's your goal for this point? What's your goal for these? We need to have these micro conversations about, and then we build, right? We keep talking about foundational training and foundation and building, and that's what I was basically telling this team. I was saying, hey, you're so focused on trying to win the point and you're not focusing on why you're here. This is practice.
How?
So what do we practice?
How do you do it?
What's the goal? Yeah. How do
How do you win the point?
Do you want it? There it is. How do you win the point? It's not just figure out, okay, well, we need to do this better than them. No, it's let's lean into our strengths and let's figure out how to win that way. So anyway, I'll chase that rabbit for.
You aren't wrong. You are totally correct. You're totally correct.
So how do you help athletes manage pressure during high stakes moments on the field?
So when it comes to high stakes moments on the field, again, it's prior to. A lot of the foundation goes, like we keep talking about foundation, a lot of that goes into the foundation we build prior to matches. Hey, managing expectations, reframing when necessary. That's massive. In high stakes situations, that self-talk, that inner dialogue, we get so caught up in what went wrong, reframing to, hey, what do I need to focus on right now? Okay. Hey, that didn't quite go the way that I wanted it to. How can I pivot? What can I do for myself right now? But providing that framework prior to matches is huge. Again, managing expectations, the process goals, building the confidence, showing these players, hey, this is what you bring to the table, leaning into those strengths and weaknesses. In those high stakes moments, in those high pressure moments, I don't need you going, oh my gosh, he does this better than me, or she does this better than me. It's no, what am I, again, Mike, we just talked about this. What do I bring to the field? What are my strengths? What am I here to do? Okay, that's going to bring you right back to center in those high stakes situations. Some other great techniques are your breathing techniques. Okay.
I knew it.
The box breathing are really good. Okay. Granted, there's certain times where we don't want to bring our heart rate down that quickly, especially when we're out on the field, but just those grounding techniques to bring us back in. Box breathing is one of them. Okay. That positive self-talk.
Hang on, Chelsea, real quick. Explain to our listeners and viewers what box breathing is.
Breathing in. Okay, so it's basically like you're breathing in a square. Okay, so it's 4 seconds in, 4 second hold, 4 second out, 4 second hold. And you repeat that until you feel as though you're centered. Okay, it's breathing in a box is basically what it is. And you can choose the rate at which you do it. The most common one is at 4 seconds. Okay.
Right.
Depending upon how relaxed you want to be, you can hold your breath for longer. You can exhale for longer. Okay. The longer you exhale, the faster you're going to bring your heart rate down. Okay. But that box breathing is just a really great grounding technique instead of your nervous system going into that madness. Right. But the last thing is that self-talk, right? When we start to spiral in these high stakes situations and we're feeling that pressure is, hey, what would the most positive person say to you right now? Is that what it sounds like in your head, or are you being your own worst enemy? And it's coming back to that, hey, I know my strengths, let me go out and play this. Hey, I bring this to the field, let me go out and play that. If I'm hearing you beat the crap out of yourself like I normally do, where we're throwing stuff in that kind of situation, I need you to come back to, hey, what would coach tell me? My athletes, what would Chelsea tell you? I do that a lot. I live rent free in a lot of my athletes' heads. So it's, hey, what would I say to you? Hear my voice in your head. Because a lot of the time we get caught up and we don't like listening to our own voice. We're not good at it, right? We don't like listening to that internal dialogue. So hear my voice. I don't care. Hear your mom's voice. I don't know how well that'll go over for some people, but that person that you look up to, right?
Mine would be pretty strong.
There,
mine would be great.
See, I was gonna say, for some people it's great, for some people it's not. So it just depends on the dynamic, right? But that person that you lean into as your support system, what would their voice sound like in your head?
Yeah. So yeah, I read somewhere, and it was actually a psychology book, that the average high emotion, powerful emotion lasts about 90 seconds. So if you can do
They're
that box
fleeting.
drill, that's right. So
Mhm.
if you can get a hold of that early, boom, you're in a good
Correct.
spot. So
Another thing that I tell a lot of my athletes too as a nervous system reset is hair ties. Like if you're in a complete rage moment, we can't control it, is that a really thick hair tie that's got some tensile strength to it, snap it. Or a rubber band. And what that does is it resets the nervous system. And it's a great way to reset really fast, especially when in a high-paced situation like paintball, right? Snap that and you're like, hey, back into the game. What do I need to focus on right now? And then you keep that simple again, coming back to those process goals, right? To keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. I know a lot of players, and I was one actually for a while where I'd have a phrase that I would say to myself. If I had had a bad point, I'd come in the pit and I'd say a phrase to myself and then I'd smack my hand as hard as I could.
Yeah.
And then I'd
that's
say the phrase
perfect.
again.
And that prevents those meltdowns in the pits too that then impact everybody else, right? I've even gotten to a point where I've suggested to have a punching bag in the pits or something quick just to hit, right? Instead of taking it out on something that's around. Because I know we've got guys that throw things or will throw a marker or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, we don't need to impact everybody else. So just again, those small things that can bring you back into yourself instead of it being big, explosive moments.
That's right, doggy. Matter of fact, one of them's using her now.
Doggy. Yes, some of these proteins might need her. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. So that's fantastic.
So you kind of started talking about it at the beginning of that. You kind of started talking a little bit about team culture. Mike and I preach and harp on team culture a lot.
Yeah.
How important is it? How important is team culture to the individual mental performance?
Oh, great question.
It's huge, to be honest. When you have that foundation from the top down, your athletes feel supported, which will only help them to do their job better, right? Because that's what this is. This is their job. We talked about it earlier. It's what they do. It's not who they are. So when that team culture is built from the top down, that team mission is set out, those standards for the team is created by leadership and management. When there's that framework, that allows your athlete, that allows your player to just go out and be able to do their job and not have to worry about anything else. So when you build that team culture that you're looking for, it's got to be positive. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity, right? I don't do all the Instagram, oh my gosh, it's sunshine, rainbows, and daisies. No, because not everything is pretty. We want you to embrace the negative that comes along with being an athlete, right? But when you have the ability to manage both the positive and the negative, and you come at it from a positive perspective, again, from leadership down, your athletes are able to do your job and they'll see more success. They're not having to worry about all the other madness, team dynamics. Hey, this guy doesn't like me. We're butting heads. Or, hey, I don't know how coach feels about me. And that also allows your coaches to create and build the roster based on that team culture. Because if you're just willy-nilly throwing people together and expecting success, it's not going to happen, right? One of the big things is if there's no standards, if there's no goals, you're going to have a team that wanders aimlessly. There's not going to be a path to follow. So when you create those standards, when you create that dynamic, that culture that you're looking for with your mission statement, with your team goals from the top down, you pave that yellow brick road for all of your athletes to follow.
What do you mean by standards?
Yeah.
So like your team guidelines. Right. Okay. This is something I suggest that all teams do is, hey, as leadership, what are you looking for out of your players? What are their responsibilities? How do you want them to show up? How do they need to act when they're at the field? What are the things that you want them to do when they're not at the field? What do they need to be practicing? Those things all need to be set up prior. Again, when you don't provide those standards, when you don't provide that framework to your teams, you're going to have guys that wander, and girls, I say that as a whole, that have no vision. They're going to wander aimlessly. You're not going to see that success because they have no framework to follow. Okay. But those team standards, those team philosophy, it's almost like a handbook. It's like that handbook that you get from work, as annoying as those are sometimes. Right. Coaches and your team owners need to set that up so that you're able to then handpick that roster that you're looking for. You're able to build that dynamic, and you're not picking people that aren't going to fit into that team culture. I think that's a big thing that I see is players are kept because they need that spot filled, but they're actually fracturing that team culture. They're fracturing the team dynamic because they don't fit in to the standard that's been set or is looking to be set.
What would you say then to our divisional coaches who say exactly what you just said? They're like, hey, look, we've got, there's 9 players at our field, that play at the level we're trying to play. Those are the 9 guys.
Yeah. And then for those divisional coaches, I want you guys to sit down and get serious about what do you want that team to look like, and then open that door of communication to those guys. Because again, a lot of them probably don't even know that that's what you're looking for. They're just coming into play because they want to play and have never had that dynamic set, right? That precedent set. So for those that are leaders, for those that are coaches, especially at the divisional level, sit down. If you want to see success, sit down with yourself and anybody else that's helping you and figure out what those standards look like for your team, right? What are they pitching in as far as monetary value? How are they showing up at the fields, right? Who's adding what? What player has what role? That kind of thing, not from a playing standard, but from outside off the field. Yeah.
Expected behaviors within the team, right?
Correct.
Everyone's responsibilities to the team are this, and you outline them.
Yeah. Right? And that's a lot of the breakdown that I see when we're not on the field is, hey, who at the Airbnb, who's taking care of what? Right? Who's helping with what? Hey, where'd the pod bag go? Again, setting those standards too, making roles for everybody when you get to events. Hey, you're in charge of this. Hey, I need you to be in charge of this. Set the standards that you want to see. Don't just expect that they know. Right. Get serious with yourself if you're going to be a leader, and go ahead and write them down. What do you want to see from your players? And then express those. Have that team meeting. Have that sit down. Have that open communication with your players, and then listen to their feedback. Please, guys, listen to their feedback. Don't just shut your players down, especially as leaders.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
Excellent. They used to do that when I coached a lot of divisional teams. If we have tryouts, the first thing we'd hand them at the tryout is, hey, these are our expectations. Yeah. If you can't say yes to every one of these, maybe we're not the team for you.
Yeah. I mean, showing up to practices. How often are you practicing? Hey, if you can't show up to practice, what are the things that you can do if you're not there? Yeah. Jump in on Discord. Ask about what's going on if you guys have a Discord set up. Be a part of team communication. If you can't make it to practice, have somebody video practice for you so that you can see what's going on, right?
Tell somebody you're not going to be involved.
Communicate.
I'm not going to make it. So, and here's why. Yes. And here's what I'm going to do instead to make up for it.
Yes. And I think that's one of the things that Seattle Uprising has done really well, is created that form of communication with Discord for people to be able to say, hey, not going to be there. Oh, hey, can I get this done? Having different channels. Discord's just an easy way to do it. You can always do something different. But being able to have that open communication when building these team dynamics is huge. Yeah. And having a team mission, guys. Have a team mission. Yeah. What are you guys about? What's your why?
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Explain what a mission is.
Right. Yeah, it's what's your why? Why are you there, right? It's having the common goal. It is the overarching, the one big goal that you have for the team is what's your why? So Ryan, what's been your mission on certain teams? Have you set a mission statement?
Yeah, my mission's, well, are you asking for me as a coach or for
the coach, or even just as a, can you give an example of ones that you've used for previous teams?
Totally. Yeah. So for personally, it's the same no matter what team I coach, is that I want to leave it better than I found it. So, but rarely does that have to do with finishes. Like it's not about if we're successful, that's great. But it's more about the men. I want to leave them better than I found them.
Something
emotionally,
greater.
Spiritually, hopefully physically too. And then for the team, it just kind of depends on the team. Like with Notorious, it was really it changed year over year. So it started out when I first took on the team. My mission in that year was for them to realize who they were, meaning as individuals, and then also kind of who they were as players. Like this is where I fit on this team. And then the next year it was, okay, let's create mastery in some of those things. Let's pick 2 or 3 with each guy, and let's create some mastery in those things. So whether it's this guy was going to be a 3, okay, let's really focus on mastering communication and mastering shooting off the break. Let's master those 2 skills. And then on the side of that, I also want you to make a commitment to me that you're going to run 2 times a week, right? Or that you're going to pick up some sort of spiritual toolkit, and I don't care what it is. So if you want to start reading, you want to start reading about Buddhists, let's do that. Let's just see what Buddhism's all about. So it just kind of depends on the group, right? And I do find that it mine have been pretty malleable year over year. Like usually I'll pick something at the beginning of the year and say, okay, this year, this is kind of my mission, right? This is what I want it to be. And then as a group, I'll share a single mission, right? Like so that we have a purpose. So in the first year with Notorious, the purpose was I want us to foundationally be able to get through the season and have like these 5 skills, right? As a group, I want us to have these 5. And what I kind of the commitment I made to them is we're going to develop these 5 things, and we're going to be able to do them pretty well. But then also what I promise you is I'll help repair some of these deficiencies you have individually while we're doing this, right? So I would create these building blocks and steps along the way, whether it was some of the drills that we were running or conversations we were having about communication, where we're going to build in these things that are going to both help the group deficiency, but then also I'm going to bring you in as an individual and help you bring you up. Does that make sense?
That's exactly how it should be, Ryan.
Yeah. Whereas like Marky was really good off the break, but then I would have like, I don't want to say his name, but I had another player who wasn't so good off the break. Well, I would always pair him and put him right next to Marky.
And that's exactly what you should be doing as a coach, right? Is understanding strengths and weaknesses. And that's perfect, right? So when it comes to building that mission statement as a leader, or even as an individual athlete, there's 3 questions I challenge you guys to kind of think about is what drives you to be an athlete? What drives you to play? Okay. What do you want to accomplish for the season? And how do you want to remember the season? Because you're not going to remember the individual breakdowns that happen. You're not going to remember all the mistakes. You're not going to remember those types of things. You're going to remember how you felt overall playing. Again, coming back to the bigger picture when it comes to a mission. And then we can go in from there, Ryan, just like you're talking about, is, hey, how do we break this down as a team? What are our team goals? And then what are the individual goals that go into making those team goals happen? Right? But it starts with that why. Why are we here as a team? What are we doing? Right? And then that plays into that team culture. If you don't have guys that can buy into that, they are going to be that fracture. They are going to be that breakdown. And that's where you have to decide as a leader is, hey, do I want to continue to allow this to happen? Or do I want to try to find somebody that fits in with our culture? I think that's a big thing too, is you don't, as a coach, and I know sometimes it's hard when we only have a limited amount of people in our area that are able to play, but sometimes you've got guys that are like, hey, I'll put in the work from afar. And it's making the decision, okay, this one might be a bad egg. And it's not to say that they're a bad egg as a person. They're just not fitting in with the team. And that's okay. And that's where the decision has to be made. Okay, they don't fit. Let's go ahead and gently release them, and then we'll find somebody to replace them. And that's okay.
Gently
release them. Right?
Gently release
Kick them
them.
to the curb.
You're laughing entirely too hard at that.
I'm sorry. That's funny. Gently release them.
But I do understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hey, we appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of our team. It's not a great fit right now. And if they're willing to take some insight into how they can become better and join the team again, great. Do it. But it's about understanding, if you want to be successful, creating a mesh, that gel, and everybody has to buy into that team culture, that team mission. Again, if you don't have that, you don't have a vision. You don't have anything to anchor you to why you're there, which then what's the point?
Yeah. I've always felt that if you can't explain to your vision and your guys can't buy into it, then you don't have a vision, because if you can't explain it, you probably don't know what it is.
And it's got to be written down.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be something that's rummaging around in your head, right? It can't be just a feeling. It's got to be written down. A lot of college teams and pro teams will literally have it put out on a big poster and plastered in locker rooms for them to see every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be something that your players see every day or are consistently a part of for it to be effective.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, I think the mental work, right? The mental mindset, the work and the methods and the processes in order to be successful on that front are just like the physical processes. They're not going to happen overnight. It's going to take training. It's going to take time. It's going to take work, and you've got to practice it. So
you mean I can't walk into the gym right now and squat 315 pounds if I've not been to the gym?
No, Ryan. Everyone knows you could walk in right now and squat 3.
But I go to the gym a lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't just walk in and squat 315 pounds if I didn't go to the gym all the time.
That's right.
Your brain's a muscle, guys. And
that's right.
That's the thing, is you have to train it just like you do your body. That saying that most sports are 90% mental, 10% physical. You can have all the physical prowess in the world. If this thing is getting in your way, the physical talent doesn't mean a thing.
Doesn't matter. It won't matter.
Doesn't mean a thing.
Love it. I've seen mental barriers kill more players than anything else.
And it's usually the thing that does. Again, you got all the talent in the world. If this thing isn't communicating with you properly, and it's not going to be pretty all the time, guys, sit in the uncomfortable, right? That's where growth is. The negative, sit in it. It's okay to feel those things. Don't push them away. Like when you are frustrated, I'm not telling you to not be frustrated. I'm asking you to deal with it a little more efficiently, right? Where we're not having massive outbursts, learning to understand how to utilize that effectively to play well with it instead of shoving it down where it's going to end up being a volcano, which is where you get these massive explosions. We keep trying to pack those negative emotions. Correct.
Yeah, comfort is where growth goes to die, and I've been saying that for years. So you've got to make yourself uncomfortable. So.
You do, and that's exactly where growth is, and taking criticism. And coaches, learn to give criticism properly, right? It doesn't have to come from a place of aggression. You catch more flies with honey. Have that open door communication. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this is have that open door policy. Listen to your players, allow them to come talk to you and help them to grow, help them game plan. And if that's something you need help with, that's what I'm here for. That's what you guys are here for. Use the team around you. You don't have to do it alone.
I use the team around me all the time. I don't, a lot of times you're not going to have all the answers. Right. And that's why you lean on them. So, right.
And you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, right? You always want to keep learning. There's always somewhere to keep growing. You don't want to have all the answers. Kind of like perfection, right? If you were to do something perfectly all the time, you'd get bored with it. You wouldn't want to do it anymore. I tell my athletes that all the time. What if you were to play perfectly all the time? What if it were to go right all the time? You probably wouldn't play anymore because you'd get bored. There'd be no challenge. And that's exactly why you play. Is for the challenge.
It's for the challenge.
Yeah, it's hard. It's certainly what we do is very difficult. And Mike and I are so lucky. A couple times a month, we get to have guests on, and we get to be not the smartest people in the room, usually a couple of times a month. And that's good, right? It's not only humbling, but it's also, it's been a long time since I've done this, but I have 2 full pages of notes.
I have 3.
Yeah. So
I love it. I love it.
you know, and you're like, I've been coaching professional paintball since 2007, right? And many of the things you shared are things that I know. It was just wonderful reinforcement, right? And reminder, right?
Yeah.
And then
And it's
also
said in a different way.
Yeah, and I got like 5 or 6 that I started. I've got like 5 or 6 new skills here that I can now implement, right? So are you comfortable taking a few questions from the audience?
Yeah, most definitely.
There was 2 that I saw that, Ryan, you got to before I did.
Yeah,
I
Bring it on.
Yeah,
I will do my best to answer them.
Yeah, Mike, why don't you start with Andrew?
Absolutely. I was just going to do that. So I'm put this up on the page here.
Okay.
Andrew asks, does your process change at all when working with the coaches and staff as opposed to the athletes themselves? Now, you kind of touched on that a little bit, right? We start top down, right? So you meet with the coach first, and then you want to make sure you guys all have the same vision, and then you go to the team. You want to make sure.
Especially, so if I'm working with a team, yes, it's top down, it's coaches, but the process itself is between coaches and athletes is pretty much the same. Again, we're looking at, hey, what are your expectations? How are those impacting what's coming across? How do we come back to focusing on the process? How do we help build your guys, right? And it's doing the same thing for coaching staff. If I've got coaching staff coming to me, it's, hey, what tools can we give you? Just like we're giving the athletes. Everybody has to be on the same page. I do this with parents too, right? Is whatever I'm teaching the athletes, I'm teaching the coaches too, because they have to be able to reiterate it. They have to reinforce it. So I can't say my process is different. It just might sound a little bit different based on who I'm working with, if that makes sense. The process itself, the framework, looks very similar.
Awesome. Hopefully, Andrew, that answered your question. If not, let us know. But it should have.
Another good one. This is one I had too. This is based off the questionnaire. That data you see and say, hey, 90% of the team thinks this. These are the biggest issue we have. We are addressing this first. What types of questions are on the questionnaire?
I just had that with me, and I don't know what I did with it. Oh my!
Great question, Adam.
It is a great question, and we don't want, obviously we don't want you to give us the whole questionnaire, but like some probing, like what are some of the probing key elements that lead into
some of the big stuff is asking, hey, what are the major breakdowns that they're seeing? Okay, what are some of the breakdowns that you're seeing? What are the things that your team's doing well? Right? That's a big thing that I harp on a lot, is we're always so focused on what's going wrong. I want to know what you guys are seeing that are going well. How do we capitalize on that? But it's, hey, what's happening with communication? What are you seeing? How's your relationship with coaches? How's your coaching staff? Is there anywhere that they can improve? It's simple questions like that to help me get an overall team dynamic. And that's something that if you guys want, shoot me a message on Instagram. My handle is right there. And I will gladly send you that questionnaire and see if it's something that your team would benefit from, right? But it's super basic questions. What are breakdowns? How confident are you? How's communication? How are you feeling as a whole with your leadership? Those types of questions.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, Chelsea, you're going to send that questionnaire to Ryan and I. That's first.
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that.
I do want to see it.
Yeah. Number 2, when you developed it, when you built this questionnaire, where were you drawing from? And the reason why I asked that, did you draw from, because there's, how many of you are familiar with Strengths Finders, right? Strength Finders. It's a psychological test that people can take. And I was just curious, did you draw from that? What kind of places did you draw from to create the questionnaire?
So a lot of them are from other psychological questionnaires, right? Some of those bigger ones that you've seen, I'm not going to get into the technical names of them. It's not important, but each of those questions, and a lot of it is from team cohesion assessments and things like that, where I've pulled specific questions that I feel are best for me and what I do and how I coach, and pulled those from other questionnaires to create the assessment that works best for me to provide a game plan for my teams. But it's pulled from all different
so when you receive these
assessments.
Are you looking for patterns, or are you looking for, certain?
I am.
Okay.
So it's key terms, it's patterns, it's, hey, this is a running theme within the team. All the guys are saying this. And what I do is exactly as that question said, I then take that back to leadership. I don't put names on it. I don't say, hey, this person said this. It's, hey, these are the themes that I'm seeing from the answers that I'm getting. Hey, we've got major lack of communication. Hey, we've got some strains between this teammate and this teammate. Or hey, we've got this group that they're really tight knit, and the newer guys are feeling like they can't fit in. Okay, we see that a lot with a lot of the guys that have been playing for a long period of time and have been playing together for a long period of time. It's situations like that. So taking those questions from other larger psych assessments and bringing them in and modifying them to what I need is how I pull all that information.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Love it. We've got a couple more questions in here if you're okay to keep going.
I see Brent. He jumped in there.
That's right. Well, and I starred that one immediately. So let's bring Brent up
Yes.
here. So Brent Osterhage. Yep. Osterhage. I'm sorry, Brent, if I butchered that, man. You can slap me when you see me next. How do you find balance between caring too much and having to not care at all? That feels like a trick question, but
It is.
Yeah.
It is, because when you, again, the difference in that is coming back to managing your expectations for not only for yourself, but how you play, right? It's understanding and giving yourself grace that not every day is going to look the same. You're not going to play the same every day. So it's understanding and finding, hey, let me come back to that process again. We want you to care, right? When you care, that shows us, hey, you want to be a part of this. You want to get better. That over caring is leaning too much into, hey, I need to show off for everybody else. Hey, I need to prove myself. The social approval side of it is normally that part of like, hey, I need to meet these expectations to show what I'm capable of doing to get approval, which again is unfortunately a society thing. Whereas the not caring at all is probably not, it's not that you're not caring, it's that you're so overwhelmed and overloaded by your expectations that it comes off as not caring. You just give up completely because you feel like you can't meet what you're trying to reach. So again, it's coming back to giving yourself grace, knowing that every day is not going to look good or feel good, and still being able to move through it and focusing on the process. Coming back to the little moments, right? The things that go well. We get so caught up in what could go wrong, and that's where the extremes come in, right? It's coming back to the little things. Hey, what went well? What was good about today?
I love the fact that you used the word grace. Brent, I just kind of want to piggyback on what she said.
Yeah.
Be authentic, be real, and then you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I always think too, like the player or person will always let you know when it's time for you to stop. There'll be signs.
Right.
It's like you can only go as far as you can go until it's over. So I always feel like there's signs.
I think too, from a coaching perspective, and I've talked a lot about this with several teams, is quiet leadership. The caring too much from a leadership standpoint, being too loud, overdoing it, is you end up pushing people away. Then when you act detached because you don't want to care as much, you then have the opposite. Your players lose respect for you. So, right, having that quiet leadership at times. You don't have to be one extreme or the other. You can care, but understand as a leader, as a coach, that sometimes that quiet leadership, bring your voice down. You don't need to yell. The quieter you are, the more in tune most people are once you get their attention, right? In the pits, yell once, on me, run your roster on me, and then you bring your voice down. So they're required to listen, right? And that's where that balance is again, you'll know, trust your instincts as coaches, trust your instincts as players, right? If you're being too much, if you're too loud and you see that tension within the pits, okay, let's bring it back down. If you've checked out a little too much, check back in with your players, check back in with yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, how can I show up a little bit better today?
Yeah. There, you know, and when you said that quiet, you're also talking about, you know, obviously, I guess what I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Accenting something, right? So, or inflection, right? So, but there's also power in complete. You know, you say your point, and then let it ferment. Let it
had
ferment.
That conversation too.
Sink. Yeah, just
don't keep repeating.
Mm-mm.
If you're trying to get a point across, and again, we're back to that question thing. If it's something that you've continuously repeated a lot, it's been on the record, on the loop, say it once, leave it alone. Right? And you're right, Mike. There's more to, hey, this is what I say. This is how it is. We are leaving it alone.
Right.
And there's times and places for that, right? It doesn't need to be on a loop. It doesn't need to be on repeat. Finding, that's that balance, and it's trusting your instincts to do so.
There it is, the balance. I love it. You know, also sometimes I've described it as the enigma, right?
It is. It's hard to find.
That's right. That's right. So,
it is. And you're human. I think that's the biggest reminder. Is you're human.
We're gonna make mistakes, but as long as we own up to them, we can grow and move on.
Correct. You're human. What's next, guys? What's next?
Yeah. So, what's one mental training exercise any team or coach watching the show tonight could do tomorrow?
I think, like I said, the biggest one for paintball itself is the if-then scenarios. Pull up a layout. Put it on your TV if you want to. Put it on your computer screen. Say, okay, if this happens, what next? Hey, if we lose this body, who steps up? What's next? It's those if-then scenarios. See it in your head play out as successful, and then move on to the next thing. Okay, hey, this didn't go quite as I had planned. How do I pivot? The more that you provide your brain that information instead of getting lost in the what ifs, play them out in your head. Give your brain that information so that when it does pop up in real life, it goes, oh, hey, I know what that is. I got that. Right? That's one of the big things is utilize that visualization for if-then scenarios.
I was going to say, Ramondo. I asked that question kind of hoping she would go down the path she just went, so she would answer your question. There you go.
Ramondo, he asked, do you use visualization as a tool? And if you do, when do you use it? And I think you just knocked it out of the park.
That's exactly when to use it. That's the biggest thing that I'm seeing so far with a lot of players and teams, especially newer players. Guys, give yourself the opportunity, but watch video. Like if you need extra that Rolodex of information, watch video of other players. How do they move through it? Right? What do you see?
Here's what I'm so glad you said that. Here's what I see most of the time when players watch video, though, is they set a laptop or something on their chest while they're laying in bed, and they stare at the screen, right, with their mouth open, right, and they're just like staring at the screen.
Sounds like you've seen this a couple of times, right?
Multiple times, right, and they're not like pausing it, and they're not.
It has to be active.
Yeah, right. Like
it has to be an active act.
Yeah. I tell people, like, if you're going to watch a match, get whatever you use to stat a game, get it out and stat the match, right? Yeah. Stat it. But then maybe go one step further and watch one player. Watch one player. What did they do when something happened? Yeah. If they shot somebody off the break, did that player now take advantage of new space? Did they switch a job? Did they tell the guy in front of them to switch a job? Like, what did that one player do every single point? And stat it out. Like, don't just watch the match. Like, watch, exactly. Yeah,
it has to be an active tool.
Yeah,
it has to be active.
So,
and especially for new players, guys, don't expect to know everything right off the bat. Too, I've got a lot of new players that are very overwhelmed. Have only been in for maybe 1, 2, 3 years. Expecting themselves to know everything that could happen or to understand the game as a whole. And it's like, no. You're constantly learning. Don't expect yourself to have all of that knowledge right off the bat. Sit and watch, sit and listen, be a sponge, and go from there. You are going to learn from the mistakes more than the successes.
I'm still learning. What the difference is between Ryan Greenspan, Yosh Rao, Kirill Peridny, Justin Rabikoff, and Mark Miterman.
Tell me.
25 years.
Yeah.
25 years of situational experience. Are any of those guys as fast as Mark? No. Are any of those guys' twitch muscles as fast as Mark? No. But their brain operates at 500 times the speed because they've been in that situation over and over and over. And they can go back and touch it and go, yeah, last 25 times I was in this scenario, I did this and it worked. So I'm going to do that again.
That's right.
And again, that's where that visualization comes into play especially for newer players.
Yes.
Utilize that tool. Utilize it.
100%.
It's on autopilot. Correct. And there are times where that autopilot doesn't kick in. That's what that flow is, right? And that's where being able to recenter, to reframe and reset. I use the 3 R's: recognize, regroup, refocus. Recognize the fact that you're distracted as quickly as possible. Snap yourself out of it in some form, and then get yourself right back into the game. Even the best of the best still have to do that. Okay. Yeah. But yes, you are correct, Nick. That autopilot kicks in when you have a little bit more of that Rolodex of information and you rely on it. You don't second guess it.
Yeah. So Nick S says it's on autopilot. Sorry. We do upload this show to Spotify when we're done. So we have to make sure we say who said it.
Yes.
Otherwise, people just listening are like, who's Nick?
Who's Nick?
Who's this Nick guy?
That's right. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. This was by Chase F1. Excellent. Chase's F1. Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Chelsea. Wow.
Yeah. We could
a lot of information.
We could probably do this for
I was going to say, I could keep going.
Yeah. Do not forget to send us that.
I won't.
Yeah.
I won't. I promise. It'll be on my to-do list for tomorrow. I will get it to you guys. And then I also have a workbook I'll send you guys too that's meant for team building that I think would be phenomenal. So if that's something that any of you guys want as well that are watching or listening, shoot me a message on Instagram. Okay. And I will go ahead and get that to you as well. It's something that you can utilize and break down. And it's got, so again, I work on a cognitive behavioral level. So it's my job to challenge your thinking and then provide you tools to help you find it in a more efficient and effective way of thinking. And that's what this workbook does, is it gives you different activities and tools to use along with the information.
Yeah.
So where can people find out?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to say, where can people find out more about what you do with your coaching, potentially bring you in to work with their team?
So messaging me on Instagram is probably the easiest way, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But if you want to jump on my website, it's Pro4mance. You want me to put it in the chat?
No, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen.
There it is. Oh, there it is. Oh, you're on top of it, Ryan.
And it's also in the description. If you're watching us on Facebook, it's up there. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's down there.
There you go. Well, hop on my website. That's got all kinds of information on that. And if you want anything specific to teams, I will gladly send you whatever that is if you shoot me your email address.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan, I'll let you in a little secret. I sent her a link to a couple of my blogs and I said, okay, assess these. I want feedback. Where am I wrong? Where am I right? So
I will gladly do that for you. It is on my to-do list. I promise.
I love it. Awesome.
Any other questions, guys? Last minute thoughts?
So.
Again.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Like I said, I love talking about what I do, and I'm super excited that the paintball community has really gone headfirst into it and has a huge interest in it. So it's awesome to see, and I'm excited to have more conversations. I will be in Texas, so anybody that finds me, grab me, we'll have conversations. And then if anybody needs team assessments or anything like that, shoot me a message.
We'll swing by the coaches clinic too.
I was going to say between 10 and noon, we'll roll over to the VIP area. We'll introduce you to the coaches who will be there. And maybe we can ask you to share a little bit of information while you're there.
Most definitely. I am all in. You let
me
know.
Love it.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
You have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
You guys.
Wow.
Yes. Dude.
So fun. Man.
We could have we could have beat that to just death. Could have kept.
Yeah,
going.
we
so many
skipped,
more we could have gone with. We skipped.
Yeah, we
some
skipped
questions.
a couple of questions just simply because of time. But like at some point, we need to get her back, because one of the things I was thinking about from like when we do the next show clinic, like we did with the communication one,
right?
I want to like really have a deep dive into kind of cultural things, because I'm starting to see more and more issues with it, and I think she could really help with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be a good time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate you. That's going to do it for episode 79 of the Coaches Show. Big thank you to Chelsea Brooks for sharing her expertise, and to our sponsors, Max Sportswear, the leader in custom paintball sports gear, and BKI Paintball for making this show possible. Thank you to Major League Paintball, Major League Paintball Plus, Tom Cole, Kevin Fillers, Alex Sorensen, and Darren Cessna. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, drop us a comment, and subscribe for more paintball content. We really appreciate you guys. For Mike Bianca, I'm Ryan Gray. As always, be responsible.